I want to ask this question again. We've kind of covered it, but in a, maybe a different way, because it's so controversial today. People don't want to believe that the answer to this question could possibly be no. And it is, are men and women, are mothers and fathers biologically interchangeable for a young child?
No, not at all.
And so that young child needs a mother. And does that young child need a father, but it needs the mother more?
It needs a mother and a father. So we could do a whole other show about why fathers are important, because fathers are necessary, because mothers regulate emotions like sadness and distress and fear. Fathers regulate aggression, and they regulate excitement. And so particularly for little boys, if they don't have fathers, they don't learn to regulate aggression. And they often end up with things like behavioral issues and early signs of aggressive behavioral issues, right? So the idea is that fathers model how to regulate aggression for little boys.
When you say little boy, how old are you speaking?
Toddlers.
2, 3?
Yeah. So essentially, fathers start out with infants. They attach to infants, not like mothers do, but, they have a relationship. And today, in particular, there's definitely an encouragement of having a very loving relationship with your infant. But it's not until children really begin to separate that fathers become really important, because they seduce the baby away from the mother. What we're finding is there's so many mothers who are single mothers by choice today.
What do you mean by that?
It means that they go to sperm banks and they have children on their own. And so we know that those children are having trouble separating. So in our practices, we're seeing more children with separation issues because they may attach fully to those mothers. They may be sleeping with those mothers far too long because the mothers attach to those children almost as partners. I mean, if you are a single mother and you don't have a partner that you're raising your child with, then what can happen is you can, take that baby into your bed and you say, right, I'm so attached to this baby. But you also need, so there are 2 books that John Bowlby wrote. John Bowlby was the father of attachment theory. He had a big book on attachment. He had another big book on separation. And the truth is they're both important. You could say mothers are the objects of attachment and fathers are the objects of separation. Fathers lure babies away from mothers in a healthy way and say, come on, come out and play. The weather's fine. Let's go. Take some risks. It's okay to go on the monkey bars. And right? Because mothers are very vigilant about safety and, right, they get very vigilant. Fathers are less vigilant. And so they're both necessary, but they're not the same. And the problem is if you ask a single parent, whether it's a mother or a father, to fulfill both of those roles, that's very complicated to fulfill both of those roles.
What is in the practical reality universe, what would be your advice to someone who is working full-time, and they're both working full-time, the 2 spouses, and they plan to pull back, and so maybe they're going to go to part-time, but how would you recommend the calculus of, we talked about the 1 to 2 to 3 hour rubric, in terms of providing other material opportunities or things for the child. So, for example, because I do this work and maybe it's not 2 hours, I'm gone 4 or 5, but now we can afford to live close to the biological parents. These are the kind of decisions that are being made, the grandparents. Right. Or now we can afford to, send you to this school that we know is going to be really important for you in a couple of years. Or we're saving up to actually buy our home so we know we have this level of security that we wouldn't have otherwise. Any recommendations on those sorts of those pragmatic decisions that people are making every single day?
Yeah.
Like pushing the envelope. We're not going to, the 2 hours feels really strict. We're going to do 5, but it means these other things for our family.
What I would say is I would still prioritize your physical and emotional presence over any of those things. Again, I understand. And there is a number. I think there's actually a financial number. There's studies to show if you make this much money as a family in America, then, you are in another category. And I can't remember, and it's probably a different number according to different parts of the country. So I don't want to judge parents who are making very, very hard decisions. There are some very hard decisions families have to make. But what I will say to you is children don't care about the school they go to. They don't care about the house they live in. They don't care about the car they drive. They don't care about vacations. They don't care about nicer clothes. They're happy to wear hand-me-downs, just if you're there for them in those early years.
I want to go now to the harm. You mentioned daycare a few times at the beginning of the interview and the harm that is to child. Can you walk us through some of the research on the harm of leaving your child for more than the 2-3 hours a day to the extreme of 8 to 12 hours a day?
So